Hey everybody, let's talk toys. Let's talk Kenner. Yay! Now this is kind of gonna be a free for all. I'm not sure if this is gonna be a podcast or what you would call. Do you call it a vlog? I guess not because it's not video. But I might throw it up on YouTube. I might throw it on iTunes. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. This might be a one-time thing. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to get the feedback to see what you think out there. And if you enjoy this, then hey, we might post more. I might post less. Who knows what I'm gonna do? But let's talk Kenner and let's talk toys. Now, give me just a second. Like I said, this is not going to be a lot of editing. I'm just going to throw out my thoughts, and then if you like it, you don't like it. If it sounds like crap, it sounds like crap. And I'm going to go ahead and warn you. I often say words wrong, like the word Jerusalem. I cannot say that. Or the word cautious. Oh, we must be cautious. I don't know how you say it, and I can't say it, and I'm sorry. But I'm going to go ahead and warn you of all that, and I might stutter, or I might lose my train of... See what I did right there? I might stutter, and I might lose my train of thought. But I'm not here to sit here and make this perfect. We're just kind of going to powwow about Kenner. Mostly Star Wars, because it's what I know the most. Feel free, if anyone out there listening to this is maybe a collector or fan of superpowers, Ghostbusters, the Police Academy toys, Mask, anything that's Kenner toys, and you would like to maybe Skype with me, talk about that stuff, hey, just send me a DM or talk to me on Twitter or send me an email at junk@starwarsjunk.net. Get in touch with me. I'm easy to get in touch with. I'm always on Twitter. I have no life. Well, actually, the last 6 months, I really hadn't had a life. I got laid off work, as many of you know, but I just accepted a job. I'm waiting to hear back on the drug test, which shouldn't be a problem. But knowing my luck lately, they'll probably find something that I ate. Comes off as some kind of drug or something. Because I've had the worst luck. You know, it was just like the fourth job. I was like, I got this one. I know I did. And then something happens. I almost had a job with Nabisco, and the guy liked me, everybody liked me. They was like, oh man, we can't wait to hire you, and then they didn't call me, and I was like, what happened? I finally got in touch with them, and they said, well, we decided just not to even hire for the position. And that's some shit. Oh, and then I had this other job, and I had to take this online test. It was like a really easy test, and all it was like questions like, do you like to play softball? Agree or disagree? And somehow I failed this test. I don't know how I did it, but anyway. Oh, I'm going way off target here. We're talking toys, right? We're not talking about my personal life. Nobody gives a shit if I was laid off work or not. But one more thing about that. I did accept the job. I started on the 10th. It's going to be a lot of travel, so I'm not really sure how all this updating Kenner and Star Wars junk and the YouTube site is going. You know, the YouTube site's been slowly growing. I get maybe 100, 200 views on some of my Star Wars videos, but when I do a toy video, I'm getting a lot more views. I'm getting into, some of them even get into the thousands, which is amazing. So, because I really love doing YouTube videos. So, enough about that. Let's talk toys. And one thing I was going to bring up real quick. Did you know that Kenner, well, not Kenner, did you know Star Wars was almost given to Mego? That's right, Mego. You know, they made the big Star Trek guys. Yeah, Mego, those guys. They almost got the rights to do Star Wars. Just think about that for a minute. What if Kenner didn't get those rights to do Star Wars? Right? What if it went to Mego? Would we know Kenner today at all? I know Kenner was around before Star Wars. They had $6 Million Man, of course, and a whole bunch of other lines before Star Wars, and they had a lot of lines after Star Wars. But Kenner's success has to go down to Star Wars. They grew so much because of Star Wars. So it makes you wonder, if Mego did get Star Wars, what would have happened? Because there's a pretty big chance that they wouldn't have maybe have gotten, you know, they wouldn't have got Indiana Jones, probably for sure. And then, you know, would they have gotten superpowers? Would they have been able to get those rights? Didn't Mego have some of the superpower line, the superhero lines back then? Anyway, Lucasfilms, they talked with Mego about doing Star Wars, and I'm trying to find this guy's name right now. David Abrams. I hope he's not related to J.J. Abrams. I don't think he is. But anyway, sorry, I'm trying to read here, but he has a great quote from when, hold on just real quick and let me see if I can find that. I said I wasn't going to do much editing, but I might have to edit this part out. Because I had it right here on the screen ready to pull up, and now I cannot find it at all. That out, I guess. Okay, it wasn't David Adams. It said it was Martin Adams. Who was working for. Let me see. I'm just trying to get the quote right here real quick. Sorry. Oh, it was David Adams. Okay, Lucasfilms brought the project of Star Wars with them, and this was their quote for turning it down. That they thought they would go bankrupt if they made every flash in the pan science fiction B movie that came along. Ooh, they thought Star Wars was going to be some B movie that nobody would even want to see. Can you believe that? And the thing is, right after that, this is a company that, okay, they didn't take Star Wars, but then I think after didn't get Star Wars, they lost their mind trying to get the next hit. They took Moonraker, James Bond movie. Come on. I mean, really, who's going to want Moonraker figures? 6, 7 people? Buck Rogers, the TV show. Yep, they did it. Black Hole. They wouldn't take Star Wars, but they took Black Hole. And then they did Star Trek, the motion picture. Ugh. I mean, come on. And they kept them big, which is an odd thing. Because, back before Star Wars, most of the action figures were the big size 12-inch, like the G.I. Joe. The Mego had the Star Trek TV show. And that was the standard size of what people want to play with, the Barbie doll size. But when Star Wars came along and did the small figures, it changed the whole toy industry. Everybody, G.I. Joe went from Barbie doll size to Star Wars size, as a matter of a few years after. So it was a huge success. It really reshaped the 3 3/4 line, reshaped everything, which is a great line because with like Mego, the 8-inch, 12-inch doll size, you can't do that with Star Wars. Imagine if they only released 12-inch. Man, what kind of ships were they playing? They would be huge. So it's a dumb idea for to have them that big. Kids needed the small action figures, and Star Wars was perfect for that because it made the ships and everything right size. I'm trying to read it, but a few years later, of course, they would probably offer the toy lights around 76, maybe early 77, but probably 76. By 1982, they filed bankruptcy. So, I mean, really, right there, that showed you if they got Star Wars, even if they probably would have done it small, I would think too. But if they got Star Wars in 77, had them out by 78, they wouldn't have filed bankruptcy by 82. I don't see where they would have. Do you? I mean, they would have took Mego in a whole nother direction, and like I said, it would have took Kenner in a whole nother direction. What would have happened to Kenner? So it's hard to say, but again, Mego turned down Star Wars. But then again, no one thought Star Wars was going to be what it was. So you can't really blame Mego. I mean, looking back at it now, you can say, man, what a stupid decision. Can you believe that? Somebody should be fired. But no one really saw Star Wars what it was going to be. And Mego wanted to focus her eyes on the Micronauts figures. Yep. Which sold good. I think they did... I think I was reading they did about $30 million a year on them, on the Micronauts. Is that how you say it? Micronauts figures. But nowhere the number Star Wars did. I was reading some article, might have been, I can't remember what it was, but some article, I wish I had it right here in front of me, that by 1980, I think it was, there were more Star Wars figures in America than people. I don't know if that's true. That's what I read. That sounds crazy, ain't it? That there was more action figures produced by Kenner than there were actually people in America. Unbelievable. And you can think, and that's another thing. You can think how can those toys? I mean, if you grew up during that time like I did in the early '80s when Star Wars was at its peak, action figure wise, every kid has Star Wars figures. Of course, geeks like me and maybe you. We all had everything. We had every figure. We had almost all the ships that our parents would get us anyway that wasn't too costly. So we had all this stuff, right? But even the football jock at school, Even the band guy that was really into band, or even the people that wasn't into Star Wars or into movies, they at least had some action figures, right? Star Wars. That's what I was trying to tell my son, that Star Wars was huge back then. I know it's huge now, but like he's got Star Wars action figures. His friends might have some, and his other friends might not have some. Star Wars figures back then was kind of like PlayStation today or Xbox, where all his friends have PlayStation. He doesn't know any friend probably that doesn't have a PlayStation or at least an Xbox. And that's how Star Wars was toy wise. Everybody had it. Even the girls had it back then. I know. I'll never forget this one girl I was in school with. Her name was Amy, and I always had a crush on her. She was the cutest girl in the whole class. But then again, my third, fourth grade class only had like 12 kids in it, so wasn't much competition or wasn't much picking to go through. But she didn't have nothing to do with me. And I had big old hair and buck teeth and talk about Star Wars all the time. Or if you've ever seen Freaks and Geeks, that guy on Freaks and Geeks is so me. I mean, almost down to the looks. I mean, but anyway, I'm getting carried away. But Freaks and Geeks, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It captures the 80s almost perfectly. And I can really relate to that guy, at least in my elementary school years. High school years, it got a little different. It got into the late 80s. Star Wars was kind of out of my mind. I was moved on to girls. I moved on to music, and I was moved on to But okay, what was that? What was I talking about? See, I forgot. Oh, this girl, Amy, she had an R2-D2 action figure. Oh, and here I'm crushing on this girl already to find out she brought in her pocket an R2-D2 to school. Oh, my head was going to explode. I mean, this was my dream girl, right? I mean, what else could you ask for when you're 10 years old and a girl that likes Star Wars, that has R2-D2? I'm like, hey, you want to come over and play with my C-3PO? Hey, they can hook up together. You play with your Star Wars, I'll play with mine. Well, getting back to saying, Star Wars is huge, and I don't think a lot of people understand. The newer kids understand how big this line was. That, like the PlayStation or Xbox today, every kid had it. And what I was getting to anyway is amazing that there were so many of these action figures around that is still worth money today. Because look how many they made. Let's take Han Solo for example. He was released in 1978. He made it all the way to at least 84. Off the top of my head, I don't think the original Han crossed over the Power of the Force line, did he? Do not believe he did. Like I said, I'm trying to keep all this in my mind real quick. So let's just say from 1978 to 1984, there were plenty of Han Solo action figures. But that figure today with his gun can run you in the high dollars. I can't remember what it's going for now. I think even without the gun, though, you're looking at $10, $15. Graded, you're probably looking at above $60 or more. Not graded, but you know what I'm getting at. These figures were everywhere, yet they're worth a lot. And take toys today, or at least toys in the '90s, like when the Hasbro-Kenner the Hasbro-Kenner era. Okay, it's a pet peeve, I know, and it's just because of my age. But when I hear people, I see it on Twitter all the time, and I love you guys, and I don't mean any disrespect this way or not, but I'll see people that say, hey, man, I grew up on Kenner Star Wars, and then they'll post a picture of a Luke Skywalker on the orange card from 1996. It's like, that's not Kenner. That's not Kenner. Okay? I did a video of like the top 10 Star Wars Kenner figures that were never made. You would not believe what the comments I got. It was like, hey, they made that in 1996. They made that in 1995. Like, Kenner. I said Kenner. I know. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Well, it's Kenner. It says Kenner on the box. But around 1983, Hasbro bought Kenner. Actually, I think they bought Tonka when Tonka was owned Kenner. So it all came together. But the Hasbro-Kenner line, to me, is not Kenner. Now, again, this is probably just because of my age. When I think Kenner, I think pre-93, before the Hasbro buy, or right at it. That's why one of the lines that I actually love, the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line. I love that line. I'm not a big fan of the movie, but I have all the figures for it. And that's because it represents to me that last line before Kenner was sold to Hasbro. Now, I think it was when it was released. It was released right about the same time Hasbro bought the company. Not bought the company, bought the company. So I think technically, maybe they might be Hasbro era figures, but I'm sure but they're both right around the same time. So it was made with the old workers. It was made, you know what I'm saying? It had to be made. Actually, I think all the deals and all the dealings and all the making, all the product, all the design had to be done before Hasbro stepped in. Because the line came out in 93, and I think Hasbro took over in late 93, if I remember right. Let me pause and get a drink before I die here. Okay, and I'm full too. Had Zaxby's. I don't know if you guys down in the South know about Zaxby's, but if you're in the South, stop by Zaxby's, okay? Anyway, where was I? I was talking about, I feel like I'm running a mile a minute. So to me, the Hasbro era is anything pre-93. That's about the cutoff. Now, don't get me wrong. Hasbro did some great Kenner stuff. Batman, the animated series, is by far, now, you might disagree with me, by far the best Kenner line in the Hasbro era. Now, okay, maybe I won't say best, but I'll say my personal favorite. Let me look at that. It's by far my personal favorite. Sadly, I collected them, but I only collected the villains. And I wish I collected the Batman and the Robin. There's just so many Batman, it killed it for me. I think there was like 10 Batmans probably, all in different colors. Oh, it blew my mind. But it's a great line. If you've never checked it out, check out the Scarecrow. Man-Bat. Oh, Man-Bat was amazing. But that first wave that came out, I think the first wave was Catwoman, Riddler, Penguin. The Penguin. Did I say that right? The Penguin. Was that it? Oh, the Joker. I think they were the only main villains in that first series. And man, I remember I went towards us and finally, they were in the Toy Action Figure News Digest that I used to buy all the time, or the Toy Mars Action Figure Guide. But finally, there they were towards us on the shelf, right? Couldn't believe it. But they would have Batman, and they had probably 60 Batmans, 5 Robins. No villains. I couldn't believe it. And I could tell the box just got put out. Hadn't been on the shelf more than an hour or more. But those villains were almost impossible to find. And let me tell you this. I finally found them. You know how I did it? I went back to Toys R Us, got an application, started working there. And that's how I did it. And I know this is bad because I hate when people do it, and I know they do it. The boxes in the back, believe me, I looked through those boxes before anything hit that shelf. Trust me. And in the back stock room, I had a little pile of X-Men Iceman, the clear Iceman that when you put him in the freezer, he would turn blue. He was really hot, probably around hot. Get it? Get the pun? But anyway, right around, what was it, 94, 95, I think? The X-Men line was pretty hot, but that Iceman was one per case. So believe me, it was very rare that Iceman made his way to the shelf. If he did make it to the shelf, I wasn't working that day because I would hide it in the back for a buddy or I would buy it myself. Which I guess the joke's on me now because I think their figure's probably worth about $5. In fact, God, I feel like I'm just going off another thing. But here's another topic about that rare that I bought these at Big Lots because I found them. I'll get back to whatever I was talking about before. But this was a Kenner line. It was a Fantastic Four line. Had a painted Invisible Woman. Now the Invisible Woman was like a clear Invisible Woman, but they released a painted one first, and it was very rare, hard to find. I walked into Big Lots, and I bet they had 15 of the painted ones. So I bought it, and they had them on sale for $3. So I bought every one I could think of, right? And I still got them in a box upstairs somewhere. I can't give these things away. It was that, and I think a rare Human Torch or something. But what was I talking about? See, I went from Star Wars to, I already set my mind. I'm going to talk about Star Wars, and I ended up talking about I went from Star Wars to Batman to now the Fantastic Four is not even Kenner. What's wrong with me? Right? Okay. Now, where was I? The Batman figures. Oh, this line is amazing. I'm so glad I still have the villains. I wish, like I said, I wish I went one of the Batman figures. Yeah, I think it's like the normal looking Batman. I can't remember off the top. I think so. And it's worth a lot more than any of the villains were. And the villains were hard to find. And I didn't buy any of them. Dummy, right? And let me tell you what one of the hardest ones to find. I know I just said they were all hard to find, but this is a little later in the line. Bane. Oh, come on, you're not shocked, are you? Bane was hard to find. And I remember walking into Toys R Us right about the time Bane came out. I wasn't working for Toys R Us anymore. They fired my ass since then. But I walked up to it. I'm doing another story I'll tell you about toys. But anyway, I walked into Toys R Us. They had a whole end cap of Batman the Animated Series figures. And I was like, I could tell, because I worked at Toys R Us, I could tell this display hadn't been up long. It's still in the morning. I said, there's going to be a Bane in here. There's no way, because I think Bane was shipping one per case then. So, and I could tell by the end cap from working there, that had to be at least 4 or 5 cases. So even if I wasn't the first one there, there's no way that they sold all 5 or 6 Banes on that wall. So I started digging through it, right? Pick, boom! Oh my God. I see it right in the back. It's probably like the third. You know how the pegs are. It was probably the third in the back. If I remember right, these were the kind you couldn't, they didn't have like the J hook back then. You had to take each one off the peg to get to it. Oh. Anyway, I saw the little picture in the top right corner of Bane. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I got my Bane figure. I'm so happy. So then when I started parting the figures out there a little bit so I could see them a little better, that's when it hit me. It was a Bane card with a Batman on it. It was like the toy collecting gods were spiting me for something I did wrong. I don't know. Maybe it was because I put toys to the side of that same Toys R Us for collectors and for friends, and I didn't put them on the shelf for just people I didn't know. So maybe they were getting back at me for doing that. Oh, so it was a Bane card back with a Batman figure on it. Of course, I bought it anyway because that's kind of cool, right? To have a Batman with a Bane on it. Oh, I have to find out what that one is. But man, that was something. But the Batman the Animated Series line is Hasbro era, but it's an amazing line. So when I knock the Hasbro era, I don't want you to think I'm knocking the toy lines or knocking you guys that maybe grew up on the Hasbro-Kenner era, grew up in the 90s. Because I'm not really, I do a lot of tweets and stuff, and I try to be funny, and a lot of times it doesn't come off funny, it comes off as mean. It was like this guy the other day, I said, oh my God, I can't believe this guy painted his AT-ATs. It was more of a joke, but it's blown up into this whole thing. This guy got upset. He already got upset at me one time because some other account that I let another guy run that I had nothing to do with, I just put junk on it so he could kind of be part of the Star Wars junk network that I was trying to start up then. Apparently, he found some Google pictures of this guy's pictures, and it came into this big old thing. So this guy probably don't really like me, but I told him it wasn't none of my business. But I told him, hey, I'll speak to him. I'll tell him to take him down. I'll tell him to watch what you post, but we can't always help it. But anyway, I said I didn't like the way I didn't like that he painted vintage AT-AT toys. I'm sorry, I don't like that. I'm sorry. It was just my opinion. And it was kind of a half-assed joke. I didn't really mean it. But I didn't know he was going to get butthurt and all his followers or some of my followers, everybody was going to get all upset about it. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get in this rant either. But it's just so stupid. Look. Okay, one, I'm not saying that he can't paint it. I never said he can't. He bought it. He can piss on it for all I care. I don't care what he does with it. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't have to sit here and, paint it, yeah, you go. I don't have to kiss his ass because he painted it, do I? I can state my opinion. No, I wasn't happy that he painted it. And, if it was an AT-AT with maybe the leg broke off of it, a cracked head or something I could see. But from what I saw from the pictures, it was just an AT-AT missing a canopy and maybe the cargo door. Give that this, they say people tell me this guy loves vintage line. Well, find you a little kid or a new collector that loves Star Wars and say, hey, look, here's an extra AT-AT I had. I was gonna paint it red and put it in my garden, but hey, why don't I give it to you? Why don't you go on eBay and stuff, see if you can find the parts to it? Why don't you spark that hobby with him, with somebody new, and let him enjoy the AT-AT. Let him try to build, try to find the chin gun, let him try to find a canopy, and all that. Let him try to rebuild this AT-AT and spark your interest. And then a kid that maybe didn't grow up on the vintage line, look what you did. Instead of painting something and putting it in your stupid garden, guess what? You started a whole kid of collecting. Or is that collector? I don't have an AT-AT. So maybe I'm a little jealous that this guy's got enough AT-ATs that he can actually paint one. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe I'm just jealous. But I don't like to see the vintage stuff destroyed. And somebody asked me, what about custom figures? You got a problem with custom figures? Yeah, I got a problem with custom figures. Yes, I do. Yeah. If you're taking a Star Wars figure, cutting his head off and putting it on another Star Wars body, cutting arms and legs off, yeah, I have a problem with that. Now, if it's a beater figure, if you got a Han Solo and the head's good but the body's crap, I don't care. Cut it up. Do what you want to with it. And again, this is just my opinion. You might think, who cares? Right, who cares? Just my opinion. There was no reason to get all upset on Twitter about it. There's no reason to start drama about it because I didn't like that he painted something. And I don't like that somebody custom something. We all have different opinions. I don't like graded figures. I don't understand why people grade figures. I can understand maybe the rare stuff. But when you're paying money to grade a loose Lobot, I don't get it. Because I want to touch the figures. Especially if they're loose. I want to be able to touch them and feel them and pose them and do all this stuff with them. My mouth dry. What was I saying? So this guy, is all upset about the AT-AT. But I just want to make it clear if anybody's listening to know what I'm talking about here. Because this guy because I felt bad. Honestly, I'm not trying to cover for. I'm not trying to say anything else. But honestly, I felt bad when I did that tweet. I said, well, I know how I am. I try to do humor tweets, and they hardly ever come off as humorous. They come off as mean-spirited. So it's hard to get that tone on Twitter. So I said, okay, let me tweet him and tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I didn't mean it like that, right? So I did that, and I sent him a DM. Said, hey, honestly, between a scale of 1 to 10, I cared about a 1. It wasn't a big deal. I was just trying to tweet something, trying to be funny. I didn't mean anything by it. He didn't reply back to the tweet, didn't reply back to the DM for like 2 days later, and then he started, 24 hours later, it wasn't 2 days, almost a day. So he replies back about, almost chewing my ass out for apologizing for him, and then bringing up this other Twitter account, which I had nothing to do with, except I let him use a junk title on it. And I told him then, when he emailed me about them pictures, I said, okay, I don't run that, but I'll talk to the guy, and I'll have him remove these photos. And this would reply back to me, well, don't get snippy with me. I don't get snippy with you. I just did what you told me to do. I was trying to help you out. I was trying to work with you. I don't know who this Dinosaur Jr. guy is or girl. I don't want to misidentify anybody's gender because I know that starts a whole new thing on Twitter too. And I'm not even get into the whole thing from making Star Wars when they got upset because I said Rancor Creeper had a rag on his head. I want to get back to talking toys. So give me a second. Let me get something to drink because we're at the 30-minute mark and I'm going to go crazy. Okay, now where was I? I took a little break there. Had to get me a Mountain Dew because I'm a Southern boy. I know you probably can't tell it by my accent, but yeah, I'm from the South. And hold on real quick. Oh, shit, I did the plug. Okay, what was the ranting about? Okay, first, see, we ranted about, oh, yeah, the guy in his ad. But let's not get into that drama. I apologize to him. He wants to be a dick. Let him be a dick, okay? I'm not going to reply anymore to his friends or his followers. And if you don't want to follow me because you don't think I should tweet my opinion or you don't like my stupid jokes, fine. Let's move on. Oh, Batman. I was thinking about Batman the Animated Series, the best line from Kenner, or the Hasbro-Kenner area. And I know what many of you out there are thinking. See, I can read your minds. That's how long I've been doing this Twitter Kenner Star Wars thing. I can read your mind. There's probably 62% of you right now saying, hey, Star Wars Junk Dude, or hey, Kenner Toys guy. I know you like Batman the Animated Series, and you're saying it's the best Hasbro era figure line, but you're forgetting Jurassic Park. No, I'm not forgetting Jurassic Park. In fact, I had Jurassic Park. I had the first series. The dinosaurs were great, don't get me wrong, but come on. Dennis Nerdy, did he look anything like Newman? Come on, did the figures look anything like they did? No, they didn't. But hey, I guess in a way Star Wars figures didn't really like Star Wars people either, so can't hold that against them. But I'm not knocking the Jurassic Park line, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of fans out there, and I need to tweet more about the Jurassic Park line, but I just don't know it that good. And again, if you're a Jurassic Park fan, if you know the Kenner toys, come on, write me. Come on, let's do something together. That's nothing's been driving me crazy on these Twitter accounts, especially YouTube. I've been trying to reach out to other people that do stuff, and nobody wants to work together. Everybody wants to do their own thing, and I was like, come on, let's work on a video together where I talk Star Wars and you talk superpowers, and your superpower friends, they'll come over to watch my videos, and my Star Wars friends might come over to watch your superpower videos, and then everybody wins. But no, nobody wants to talk to you back. Nobody wants to work with you. Nobody wants to, hey, come talk on my podcast, or hey, come be in my video. No, everybody just wants to be on their own, unless they want you to retweet something. Oh, then they're, oh man, hey man, we friends, right? Hey, can you retweet it? Can you shout out? Can you give me a shout out? Okay, this is turning into a bitch fest. That's really not what I wanted, because I love Twitter and I love being online. So that's not what I meant by this. Woo! Can you believe I'm not feel like I'm doped up or something, but I'm not. It's just a weekend with no kids, and I'm not working, so I've been like sitting at home talking to nobody. So when I get to talk to you, I'm like, I can just spill out. I feel like I ain't talking in a week. But Jurassic Park, it was a good line. Don't get me wrong. I love the T-Rex had the open wound where you could see his bones and the meat inside of him. I love that. And I love the Jeep. I had the Jeep. It was very cool. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey, dude, you grew up on Star Wars. You were there at the original line. How are you playing with Jurassic Park toys when you had to be early 20s when they came out? Yeah, I was. I got out of toys probably around, I moved from Star Wars to He-Man. I was forced into it when parents bought it. Well, Santa Claus got me He-Man, so probably around 84, 85, I was forced into He-Man, played with it a few more years, hit 15, 16 maybe, I'm just guessing the top of my head. Got into music, got into girls, got into friends, I'd much rather hang out with my friends and go play my Star Wars toys alone in my room. And then probably around 93, 94, I started collecting again. Well, I call it collecting. Come on, let's be honest. It was just buying toys. I wasn't collecting them. I was standing them up, make them look cool. But there was something about that early 90s that was kind of like a golden age of action figure collecting. I don't know if you were there. But it's just odd how it wasn't, the internet wasn't big back then. I think I had American Online or Prodigy, but it wasn't like a big nerdy community where everybody was collecting stuff. And I thought, I remember this. I was like, just got out of school. I think I saw a Batman figure, and it wouldn't have been the animated series line. And I think it was the Toy Biz Batman line. I think, if I remember correct. And I thought, man, that would be cool just to have a Batman, sitting up on my shelf. And I didn't have any other like movie stuff then. There wasn't that many movies. I think I might have had a poster or two, but there wasn't that much movie stuff to have. Not like today where you can get model kits and action figures to almost anything you can think of. Sure, they had the action figure line, but no, I didn't really have anything on my toy. I didn't have a toy shelf, much less a toy to put on a toy shelf. So I thought, hey, I'll get this Batman. He'll look good. So I got Batman, and then I thought, well, I need Bob the Goon. And if I remember right, didn't they do a Bob the Goon? But they Okay, they did do a Joker. It just didn't look like Jack Nicholson's Joker. That's what it was. So I don't think I bought it. But anyway, that got me into buying those, and then I remember being at the B. Dalton bookstore at the mall. And it was the first time I seen anything Star Wars at a store in a long time. It was a book called Star Trek and Star Wars Collectibles. And it had a list, and so I bought it just mostly because it had Star Wars on it. I was blown away. Something with Star Wars on it at a store. And I remember getting home, flipping through it, and they had a list of all the Kenner figures. And at this time, I didn't really, I've had probably 10 maybe, at the very most 10. Those were from my childhood. So I started looking through that list. Like, man, they made a Luke Skywalker Stormtrooper? Then I looked down the list. Anakin Skywalker? What? They made a Han and Carbonite? I mean, it blew my mind. I didn't know they even made this stuff. So I was like, man, I'm going to start buying this stuff again. And then I was like, well, what? How am I going to buy it again? You know? Like, I don't have a time machine. I can't go back and buy it. I didn't have the internet. Well, we had the internet, but I was on news groups, but you couldn't really buy stuff on news groups. Hardly. So, but I went to news groups, started typing away, vintage Star Wars, and I started reading those other collectors out there. Then I went to my local comic book store. And, you know, I've been going there a couple of years. I kind of built a relationship with the owner. We kind of became friends. I would help him at the store, and he wouldn't pay me, but he'd give me store credit to buy some stuff. And anyway, I was kind of like my hangout place in my late teens, early 20s. And then all of a sudden, I walked in there one day just out of the blue. He had vintage Star Wars figures, and he started buying them from people around town. Parents would bring them in. Their kids were going off to college, or the college was coming in, trading them for comic books. Really, he had a sweet deal because no one knew at all back then how big of a line the vintage line would become. But I remember he had an X-Wing Luke, a Land Speeder, and a couple other figures. And I could not believe it. So I bought an X-Wing and I bought a Luke. And that was the first ones I bought. But that really, and I went back to that book I bought at B. Dalton. And I remember I put a mark through the Luke X-Wing pilot because I bought it. Got out, made the 4 or 5 I had, went through, started marking that. Then next thing I know, I was like going to the comic. I was like a crackhead. I was going to the comic book store 2 times a day. I brought him some of my He-Man toys to trade. You know, trying to get store credit so I could swap up for Star Wars. Sorry about that. But yeah, more of that. So I had this list and I started buying all these Star Wars stuff again. But okay, so I'm rambling again. What I was trying to get to is right around the same time. I didn't know it. There was other people starting to buy the vintage stuff from his store. I wasn't the only one. And there was starting to be this bubble, this nerd bubble. Action Figure New Digest magazine was out. This was before Toy Fair Wizard magazine. Now we're not. Don't even get me started on that garbage. I'm sorry. See, I try to be funny. I end up pissing people off because I think Toy Fair is garbage, but it's garbage. I had Action Figure News and Digest, Tomar's Action News. The names were so similar. I don't understand, but you know, that's how we saw the new toys were coming out. But it was just weird how the whole collecting toy thing started. I don't know if it's my generation that we grew up. Because about the time this bubble hit, all of us was turning about 20. We all started having our own money. You know, my brother's 5 years older than me. He never got into any toy collecting much. I think it was something about kids my age. You know, I was born in 72. Star Wars made an impact on me. Of course, I saw it when I was 6. So I grew up around it. But I think there's something about us 80s kids. And I'm not talking teen 80s. I'm not talking the kids that were teens in the early 80s. I'm talking more about kids that really grew up in the 80s or were very young in 1980, were maybe reaching their 20s at the end of the 80s. Something about us, or a lot of us, really connected with pop culture. Maybe it's because I was a latchy kid, you know, and I didn't really have nothing. I came home. My parents were at work. My brother was usually off doing his thing. And my sister was out I'm not going to tell you what she was doing. So I would come home, and I'll have the key to my house and my kangaroo. My kangaroo shoes had a little pocket on it with a key in it. And when I come home, what would I do? What was the first thing I do when I get home? Watch Masters of the Universe. That's right. And then, go on to another cartoon after that. And some about I think that happened to a lot of those kids back then that grew up in the 80s. They call it the Latchkey kids. That we would be home when the parents were working. So I think that's maybe why we all connected so much with pop culture, with movies and TV shows and comic books and superheroes. In a way it was, I hate to say it, Superman might have been our dad or our mom in a way. We came home and instead of, hey Dad, how was your day? Hey Mom, how was your day? Let me see what Superman's been up to. Let me see what Batman's been up to. Let me watch the Batman TV show. I had no idea it was campy, corny fun. I thought it was a serious 30-minute drama. But something about that era, where right there in the early 90s, people in their early 20s started really buying this stuff. More so than they did in the 80s. I mean, I don't know any teenager in the 80s that went around buying action figures. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there were some. I know you're thinking, hey man, I was 16 in 1986 and I bought those action figures. That's not what I mean. There's an exception to every rule. So, yeah, I can understand that, but something about that early 80s when you had that X-Men line from, I think, Toy Biz. You had Batman the Animated Series coming out. You had, we're talking before, I can't think of any lines, but the two biggest ones that stick out in my mind is that X-Men line and that Batman Animated Series line. Because I remember I wasn't really into buying the X-Men, but I remember everybody loved that X-Men line. Everybody wanted those figures. So like I said, it was just amazing how everything, the vintage line was really starting to bubble up then. It's just amazing how right there around that time you can pinpoint it, 93, 94, that this action figure craze started happening. And then of course, it just grew bigger. The companies started realizing, hey, kids aren't just buying these. Adults are buying these. Collected them. So then you started getting the collector's edition. And this store has this store has this exclusive. And it just, be honest with you, I got fed up with action figures because it got into where I want to buy Star Wars figures. Well, do you have all of them? I said, yeah, I got them all. Well, no, Kmart's got this Luke Skywalker wearing a blue jacket, and you have to go to the Target and get there early because they got a Han Solo that's only sold at Target wearing a yellow jacket. And then I don't have an F.O. Schwartz in my town. Well, I guess you're not going to have a complete series of this line because they've got a Princess Leia with an extra bun on her head or something crazy. So it just got really, same thing with comic books. Comic books have so many covers. I just screw it. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. Action figures got that way where they're just too hard and nobody's going to get a complete line of action figures. It's just impossible. And now I see the same thing happening with those pop head Funko toys. I bought a few of them. I think they're cool. I'll buy them. I got a friend that really loves them. He's like a crackhead for Funko Pops. But I see it all the time. It's like, he sees one he wants, and he's like, oh, it's only sold at Hot Topic. And then he's like, oh, I want the whole set, but the one key figure is only sold here and there. And there's actually a cartoon character called Brack from the Brack Show. He was from Space Ghost. I love Brack, and I want that pop. And it's some exclusive just to some online retailer. What kind of bullshit is that? And from what I understand, I don't know this retailer online. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but this is just what I was told. That he's been known to get exclusive like that. Let's say he gets 20, sells 2, marks them as out of stock, and then marks his remaining stock up 10, 20 more dollars. That way he can say, hey, these came in from a collector trade, not from Funko, so hey, I'm selling these at a higher price. Which really pisses me off. I just want to brag. Is that so damn hard? I just want a Brack figure. I mean, really, I just want Brack. I don't want to have to. You go here, go there, do this, do that, get it on eBay, bid. You outbid, I'll bid. Oh. Like I said, they just take the fun out of everything. See, I rambling. I don't even remember where I was going. What was I talking about? I was talking about animated series, and I was talking about Jurassic Park, and now I'm talking about Funko. How did I get the Funko? It's supposed to be about Kenner, and I'm on Funko. Oh, the Bubble Boom. But anyway, the Bubble Boom started, and then you had Toy Shop magazine, which is like a, uh, it was best way to sum it up. It was Amazon or eBay in a magazine form. It was just ads, page after page after page. I think they did some articles, but nobody read them. They were page after page after page of just articles, and oh, it was fun. Let me tell you. You see an action figure you want. It was in a very small black and white photo. Might not even been black and white. You might have just had a listing. So you had no idea if it was mint or how many it was. You didn't know anything. So what you would have to do is write a check. Yeah, write a check out, mail it. That'd take a week, 2 weeks to get to him. Of course, they're not going to mail you until that check clears, so that's going to take another week or two. And then he's going to mail it. I don't know what it was about the 90s versus now, but the mail took a lot longer. So maybe if you were lucky, 6 to 8 weeks, you got the figure you ordered out. This little blurb ad, and fingers are crossed because one, it might not be even what you ordered, and God knows what pain in the ass that's going to be. It might be beat up, it might not be mint, it might be. I mean, it was all kinds of things. It was impossible. So, but I'm gonna save this for another podcast, whatever we're gonna call this. The whole collecting versus collecting in life and collecting online. I play poker, and my brother plays poker too, and he's a big online poker player. But I don't like it online. I have to play it real. And it's like poker online and poker at a table with people are two totally different games. And that's how I feel about collecting. Collecting online, which is fine, it's good, but it's its own little beast, right? And collecting in the wild, which I mean going out and actually tracking down stuff from other collectors and toy stores, antique shops, there's a whole different beast also. It's like two different things. I do prefer one over the other, and like I said, I'll get into all that if I do another one of these podcasts, blogs, rants, whatever you want to call it. Because this one is a free-form one. I really didn't have a plan of what I want to talk about, but again, if this turns out to be something I do more of and you guys enjoy it, then hopefully I'll try to get a topic and stick with it each time. Because as you can tell from this one, we've gone from Kenner Star Wars to Batman the Animated Series to Jurassic Park to X-Men to we ended up at Funko, and now we're ended up at poker. So we don't know where we're going, but I know where I'm going now. I'm going to have a sip of this Mountain Dew. So hold on a second. Whew, been talking for almost an hour. You believe that? So I won't go on too much longer. I know people start to fade out by now. But anyway, it was that big bubble boom of the early '90s that was just amazing time. Another line that's not Kenner that I really fell in love with was the Star Trek Playmates line. I would love to do. I know this is a Kenner related show or Twitter or whatever, but one day I'm going to have to talk about Star Trek Playmates. And it kills me that series is kind of not really forgotten. It's not even worth anything. No one, that line should be more than it is, because that Star Trek Playmates Next Generation line is amazing. But no, I'm not going to get into all that right now. Oh. So, okay, we covered the boom. We covered all about this, all that. So, I guess I don't really have anything else to add to this. I'm going to try to, like I said, I'm not going to do much editing. And again, I apologize because all this is the top of my head. I didn't take notes. I didn't know what I was going to write. I just hit record and I started talking. So, I know I stumbled over words. I probably said words wrong. My accent's probably bothering you. I'm probably rambling about nonsense that you don't even know what I'm talking about. What's he talking about? A painted at? I don't know what he's even talking about. And you're right. I'm sorry. Like I said, if we do this again, I'll try to lay it out more stuff to talk about. Maybe spend a few minutes on news or whatever. I'll lay it out more. And that's the thing here. I don't know if anyone's listening to this. Like I said, I'm probably going to put this on YouTube. Things go forward from there. I might try to get it on iTunes as a podcast, but I'm not really sure. But I would love your feedback. Please give me your feedback. Hit the like button if you want more. If I get enough likes, I'll do another one. But there's no sense in me sitting here and rambling for an hour, editing and throwing up a video if nobody's even going to watch the damn thing or care. So leave in the comments, encourage me to do more, and believe me, I'll do more. Like I said, I love doing this. And again, and I'm gonna wind this down now, I guess, because my whole plan was, like I said, I didn't really plan it, but I was gonna come in and talk about how Star Wars was almost going to Mego, and we did cover it. We covered the guy saying, hey, he can't do every Flash in the Pan B movie that comes around; they'll go bankrupt. So they didn't do Star Wars, but then they went bankrupt anyway. Did they do the Love Boat action figure line? Please tell me they didn't do Love Boat. Please. That's crazy. Like I said, next time I'll do that, I'll try to have some stuff in front of me so I don't sound like a total clueless jackass every time I talk. But no, so I didn't want to bring up Twitter drama either, but it was sitting here in my face when it came up, and drama. You can have an opinion. It don't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean anything. Just calm down, people. But anyway, I'm rambling again. It's almost been an hour. So, again, let me know if you want me to do more of these, please. And again, if you know about Jurassic Park, if you know about Batman, if you know about Mask, I don't know nothing. I don't even hardly remember Mask. When Mask came out, I was kind of out of the toy thing. So I don't know anything about the Mask toys. So if you know about Mask, superpowers, anything, I'm willing to work with you. I'm willing to give you a spot. I mean, we can get on Skype. We can talk about this. We can do a video. If you got a YouTube channel where you talk about Mask toys, hey, come on over. Send me a video. I'll upload it to mine, and we'll do a part 1 on mine and a part 2 on yours, and we can combine each other's traffic maybe that way. Like I said, I'm willing to work with everybody, but nobody wants to work with me. I guess I'm the black sheep of the internet. I don't know. Maybe nobody wants to work with anybody, but I don't know. I've reached out to many people about doing videos together, and either they don't read their DMs or they don't give a shit. I mean, they don't even got the courtesy to tell me, get lost. So like I said, sometimes I feel like, hey, he's the black sheep. That's that guy that makes jokes about painting AT-ATs. Or that's the guy that made a joke about the Rancor Keeper having a towel on his head. Let's not associate with him. No, don't work with that guy. He says the Rancor Keeper had a towel on his head. That's some, I don't know if it was racist or sexist, or I guess it wasn't sexist. It wasn't really a race joke either, but I don't know. Okay, I'm getting carried away again, and I'm sorry. So again, please, if you're out there and you got a YouTube channel or a podcast and you want to talk or you want to try to grow it, the best way to grow it is us working together. Because that's all I want to do too. I want to grow it. So hey, or either that, if let's say you don't have a podcast or you don't have a YouTube channel, maybe you're just a fan and you know a lot about it, but you don't really talk to anybody about it. Write me up. I mean, go to StarWarsJunk.net. You'll find my email address. Of course, you know on Twitter, Star Wars Junk on Twitter. Kenner Toys on Twitter. I read all my mentions. That's another thing that's shocking on Twitter, I know. But maybe it's because I don't have millions of followers, but I try my best to read. And not only read, but I click the like button on every mention I get. I'll go down. Because that's my way of saying, hey, I read it. That way you'll know I read it. But I think it's rude. I can't stand, I'll send a guy an message and he doesn't like it or even replies to it. And I can understand, if you got 100,000 followers, you're not going to be able to keep up with all of it. But if you got 1,000 followers, Hell, if you got 30 followers and I send you a tweet, I know you're just ignoring it because I know you see it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but I mean, I've got my Star Wars one has over 30,000 people, and it gets a lot of replies. I get a lot of at mentions, but I do try to go down. You know, like I said, I might not reply to everyone because sometimes they're not questions, or I just can't reply. But I'll real click like. Hopefully that lets them know, hey, he read it, and at least he's not just ignoring me. Because there's just something about being online. People love to ignore you. When I found out first they want you to give them a shout out and help them grow their podcast or their Twitter, and then once you do that, then they want to kind of ignore you. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm here to talk toys, not here to talk stupid social media drama. That's just part of the territory. I love Twitter, so I love being on it, and maybe I just love it and more passionate about a lot of other people there. But again, if you want to talk toys, hey, it doesn't even have to be Kenner. If you just got a love for action figures and toys or want to come on, let's work together. I'm willing to work with almost anybody. Like I said, almost anybody. You know, I'm not going to sit here and do a 12-hour podcast about the latest episode of Glee. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. But again, hit the like button, or as my son would say, smash that like button. So I'll know you're out there listening. Comment too. I love comments. I try to read all of them here also. Just let me know if you want me to do more of these, or if you want me to just stop talking and shut up. and also give me some topics to talk about, because like I said, I just turned this thing on. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about besides the Mego thing. But I think I've done pretty good at keeping the conversation going. And I would love to do if I do more of these, I would love to do one where I just read Twitter questions. I would love that. So that's probably going to be my goal down the road. And if I do another one, I'll try to have more topics. But hey, if you like me just ranting off the top of my head about nonsense, let me know that too. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow us at Kenner Toys and at Star Wars Junk. Believe me, we got more than just those two, but them are the ones I promote. And keep your eye at StarWarsJunk.net. That way you'll see all the Kenner. You'll find the Kenner's links. You'll find all the links. You'll find all the news. You'll find everything you need right there. Our Twitter, all of our Twitter accounts are posted at StarWarsJunk.net. Everything is at StarWarsJunk.net. How to get in touch with me and all that stuff. So again, thanks for listening, and I hope we talk again.